Speaking of instrumentals, though,
These fucking flutes.
don't do that.
Go ahead.
We have to talk about
I'm here to hate.
Andre 3000's Flute
I'm
album,
here to hate.
as well as Lupe Fiasco over the flutes. Because I know Lupe is your guy.
I love Lupe. He's
and
great.
And 3000 is also your guy.
He's also my guy when he's rapping and singing, yes.
And Lupe, okay, let's backtrack. Andre 3000, I think we said it last pod, that not the one y'all didn't hear, but the one y'all did hear, that Andre 3000 was coming out with a Flute album.
Yep. And he did.
And he did.
And a whack ass interview. But go ahead.
That may be true, but this album came out and did better than all of the rap albums that came out this year.
Not all, but many.
I thought it was all of them.
No, but many.
Okay, many.
It's first week sales that everyone was speaking about, but we'll get to it. Go ahead.
So, I mean, get to it.
Oh, all right. I mean, Andre 3000 put out a flute album. He says, he'd been walking around playing his flute and
which we knew,
working on wind instruments, and he even told us he's already put stuff out that we didn't know about under other people's names with their permission. And whatever, man.
But why?
Because he claims that he didn't want people to run to it and judge it harshly and criticize it, and he just didn't know what it would be like once public consumption began.
And the exact opposite happened, which is the irony of that.
Whatever. And so Andre 3000 decided he wants to put out a flute album. Let me be clear. I don't have any issue with Andre 3000 putting out a flute album. I think it's honorable that he is still trying to create in whatever way he wants to create. As a person who is creative and does a bunch of different stuff, I applaud that. I encourage that. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But there are some things I take issue with. Number one, you walking around talking about being famous sucks. Really?
Yeah.
Being famous really sucks. Nobody talks about how being famous really sucks. Oh yeah? Really? Having the greatest, the number one rap album sold ever in history sucks? Oh yeah?
Well, that's not what he said. He didn't say that sucks. He said being famous sucks. And while that does yield the fame is a very specific thing, and some people don't like it.
Yes, we know. He's rapped about it. We know he doesn't like it.
However,
that's not going to stop him from putting out a flute album.
However, what you're not saying, which I think is relevant to what you're trying to say, is that while he may walk about the streets and try to be a regular person, he's also highly recognizable. And he's like out in the streets playing his flute, which you can't be mad at being famous and then go out in the street and play an instrument and think that no one's going to notice. Then why do you hate fame? Especially in the era, and I'm sure this is hard for artists who were around pre-social media, pre-camera phones, or rather smartphones, because now they can't do anything without it being captured. And I can respect that the world we're living in now can be incredibly frustrating because of that. Hell, me as a normal person who no one knows could do something publicly and it could end up on the internet and go viral. And
I'm sure there's a video of me sleeping on the train somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I'd be knocked out.
Them teenagers on the train got you.
Absolutely.
And what they should have done was, you're not an Apple guy. I was going to say they should have airdropped it to you so you could see it.
Nah, yeah, you on with them airdrops.
I don't airdrop.
I heard about them airdrops.
Oh yeah, I've been airdropped on the train before. I had to make sure I turned that off.
Complete folders full of nudes on an airplane.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Anyway, back to the topic.
So yeah, I see what you're saying with that. I think that there's a little Like, I don't think that he's that naive.
But he's walking around. He said in the interview,
Mm-hmm.
all we did, we started here, and we've never gone backwards. We've only gone up in record sales, in adoration, etc. And yeah, he heard about uh Speaker Box slash Love Below now being the number one rap album ever sold, and that's super fly.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same token, being famous sucks. It's a byproduct. You can't have both. Like, what do
Right.
you think is gonna happen? And then, like, you complaining about a privilege is hard for me to digest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my only issue with Three Stacks.
Mm-hmm.
My next issue has nothing to do with him. My next issue has to do with people overhyping shit and not comparing apples to apples.
Okay.
And we've discussed this before. We discussed it when Beyonce and Drake did the pop albums.
The dance
We
albums.
discussed it. The dance albums.
Mm-hmm.
We discussed it when Kanye did the gospel album.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with people putting out whatever music they want.
Mm-hmm.
That's your prerogative. That's your choice. That's your creation.
Right.
As an artist, you should do all the things that inspire you, that you're passionate about. I don't have any problem with any of that. But we have to put things in the proper category then.
Mm-hmm.
People are posting lists, like you said, comparing first week sales of Andre 3000's Flute album and a ton of rappers' albums underneath. No, nigga, compare them to flute albums. Compare them to wind instrument albums. Compare them to instrumentals. One has fucking nothing to do with the other.
Mm-hmm.
Telling me that Andre 3000's first week sales are 35,000, but this entire list of rappers' first week sales are lower equates to a nothing conversation. It has nothing to do with each other. He released an album in a totally different category. Well, then let's talk about those people because that's the real conversation. I don't know shit about flute albums. I don't even know what category of music that falls under because I also didn't listen to the shit. But then compare it to that genre, whatever that genre is, whatever that subcategory is, compare it to that. Show me, oh, usually person A is the number one in this genre. Shout out to Andre 3000 who sold double or triple or quadruple or 10 times the amount. That's the conversation. Not comparing him to rappers when he's not rapping. I hate that people do that shit.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. And I don't really tell people what to do, but yo, as everyone loves to say on the internet, we have to stop doing that. Yeah. Compare apples to apples. If yes, it's all music, but we all know there are categories, genres, and subgenres. Flute albums don't have shit to do with hip hop albums. They don't. Now, if Lupe Fiasco gets permission from Andre 3000 to release the raps over those beats as an album, then we can have a conversation about rap. About that hip hop collaborative weird album. Right. Because then there is a hip hop component. And so if it comes out and they say, oh man, Andre 3000 X, because they don't say slash anymore, X Lupe Fiasco's album, first week sales was this, then show me that list. Because now you could compare that album to Nas' album and Drake's album and everybody else's album. Because it is the same category. But no, not the fucking flutes.
I agree with you on that. I do. I think that, like we've talked about before, it creates, when it comes to awards and when it comes to even sales, it, or rather charting, I should say, not necessarily sales, but the way music charts, it puts lesser known artists, I don't even know if that's the right way to say that, but it puts other artists at a disadvantage in the categories where they should be considered over these people who are trying to genre bend. So I do agree with that because I think that became an issue that we talked about back in the closet at some point
Yeah.
about the fact that there were artists who are obviously very, very popular and very talented, but not as revered as I mean, there's not too many people that are revered the way Beyonce is.
And Beyonce, Drake, and Kanye, and
right.
Three Stacks.
Right.
I mean,
but it knocked certain artists out of the running for awards because Beyonce's Renaissance album was, it was crossing multiple genres.
Kanye's gospel album, it won a Grammy.
Right.
So everybody who was doing gospel before got shitted on, and to me, I'm okay with that part. Honestly, it's fucked up, but it's okay with me because
it was in the right genre.
Apples to apples.
But I'm talking about when it's not. So what I'm saying is, if you make a dance album and now your dance album lands in the dance category and the R&B category, and you're winning in the R&B category,
that's bullshit.
It put other artists in the R&B category at a disadvantage.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. I don't mean it the other way around. Yes, if you put out a dance album and it ended up in the dance category for awards, then if you want it, you want it. But when we're putting dance albums into
Beyonce shouldn't have won R&B Grammys for this album. So we said that already. Right. But to double down, there's no reason for Beyonce to even be nominated for an R&B Grammy for what's clearly not an R&B album at all.
Right. And again, there's people who will argue that and say that it is R&B.
They can kiss my ass. Okay. I'm not going to invite them to the other area men love to invite them to, but they can kiss my ass.
Sure. I'm just saying that, it also becomes a conversation about what do we consider what do we consider a part of what genre, but we could leave that there. My question that I have for you.
Yes, I'm a fan of what Lupe did. Oh, that wasn't the question?
Well, before we get to Lupe, something that hasn't been said is we did say that the Flute album did very well.
35,000 first week sales.
But neither of us talked about the Flute album itself.
Oh, I said I didn't listen to it. So
well, I did.
Go ahead.
And I also want to note what people have been saying about it too.
What have people been saying?
So I listened to it and I thought it was really interesting. It's not something I would normally listen to. I don't listen to instrumentals.
It's also not just him playing the flute. There's a band and there's a whole entire composition.
Yeah, it was thoughtfully done. That is clear. He
said in the interview, I'm sorry to cut you off. He said in the interview they were basically jam sessions that were recorded. Mm-hmm. Nothing was pre-written. They kind of got in there and was like, oh, this feels good. Let's do this and record this. Mm-hmm. So I think that actually is really dope, and that should be recognized, acknowledged as well. Because a lot of people don't do that. They are writing their music and composing their music and mm-hmm. then saying, okay, we have this pre-packaged thing that we're going in there to deliver. And so that's not what happened here. And I think that also has to be acknowledged.
Yeah. I'm not someone who listens to music that doesn't have words. So that is
You're listening to Kenny G?
Okay. Besides Kenny G.
It's a joke.
I mean, I love Kenny G. That's why I'm like,
okay. I didn't even know. I was just being silly.
But
Kenny G be putting niggas to sleep.
But I think that's the last time. Like the Kenny G era was probably the last time I was a child, but that was the last time I really listened to
CD 101.9.
CD 101.9.
Smooth jazz.
FM.
That shit just come on.
Right. But we're like, who's listening to?
And after about 3 songs, you be.
Exactly, but that's what people are saying about the Flute album. People are saying that it's very soothing. I've seen people say they do yoga to it. I've seen people say they play it to fall asleep. I've seen people say they play it to focus while they're working.
That was a hard F. I thought you was about to say something else.
All right.
I gotta be honest. The way you was getting that F ready, I was about to say, okay, I didn't know niggas was getting nasty to the flutes.
People are probably fucking to the flutes too. Who knows? But
I didn't listen to it, so I can't judge.
I thought it was I thought it was great. Like I don't think that I'm a good judge of this because I don't typically listen to
This type of music.
this type of music. I also think that if it wasn't Andre 3000, it wouldn't have done so well.
Duh. Not duh to you. That's part of my point with the list.
I just think it needs to be said because there's a lot of artists out there that none of y'all were gonna listen to this. None of y'all were gonna listen to this. Whether it was good or not, wouldn't have mattered.
If we put out an instrumental album tomorrow, I promise you it's gonna have 2 listens.
Right. Nobody's gonna listen to it. Just the people we know who like us.
And probably not even them.
They might turn it on.
That's why I said 2 listens. Probably not even them.
So I think it's a really interesting album. I can understand why people are using it as like a calming, soothing sort of thing. Now, that being said, I just wanted to point that out because I feel like in terms of what he created something good.
Okay.
And I think that's important to state. Whatever opinions we have around the way he did it or, what he's doing is one thing, but the actual music was good music, in my opinion. Then there's Lupe.
That I love.
So you've heard some of the tracks?
There's only 1 track.
Oh, I didn't. I thought he was.
I've only seen 1.
I thought he was doing the entire thing.
I think he should do the entire thing. If he has 3 Stacks permission, and from the interview, sounds like 3 Stacks is cool with it. Mm-hmm. If he has Andre 3000's permission, why not? Lupe has done stuff to jazz beats before. If you don't listen to Lupe thoroughly, you won't know that. Mm-hmm. It's not on albums, but Lupe on mixtapes has rapped over jazzy beats, and he has done things that rhythmically flow very well in that pocket. And so this is not something that is impossible. Lupe is extremely lyrical, extremely versatile, and so I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it would be really smart for someone like Lupe to do it, Black Thought to do it. I think that we will probably see a lot of samples from this, and I'm for all of those things. Again, to me, the creation of art is always okay. I mean, unless you do some like crazy blasphemous shit, then maybe not. But I don't think there's anything wrong. Okay, watch. I don't think there's anything wrong with creating and collaborating. If you have the proper permissions, right? Like if 3 Stacks says yes, if he clears the samples, if he's down to share the title. I mean, it's not a byline. I don't know how they would do it, but if he wants to put it out as a collaborative effort, to me, that's dope. Whoever does it, if you decide, hey, I'm gonna put some bars or some singing over this, you the king of R&B.
I am the king of R&B.
Right.
Really, I should be singing to the flute music,
and that's what I'm saying. So if you put out if you lay vocals over the flute album, I'm cool with that. Hopefully it sounds good. That's another topic. But the creation of it, I'm okay with. I don't have a problem with Lupe rapping over the flute album. Now I think there's other ways Lupe could use his talent, but let's take a pause and take a step back. Lupe never got to rap with Outkast. Lupe probably, based on his style, probably idolizes and adores everything Outkast and 3 Stacks have done musically. And so if this is how I get to share space with this man, that's probably something that's like a dream come true.
Yeah, I can see
and
that.
So I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Is everyone gonna like it? I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I mean, I don't think it matters whether people. I think.
Well, when we put out something.
When I say I don't think it matters, I think that what he's doing is important in terms of like we were just talking about Drake and how Drake put out his instrumentals for other people to use them, and this is a bit more structured, but this is not new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in the day it was just mixtape shit, but a lot of this happened without anybody having to like talk about it, or
Yes.
telling everyone they were doing it. You just put out your mixtape, and a lot of beats that were
Well,
you
we're
know
kind of seeing a resurgence of that because
uh,
that was frowned upon once streaming took off,
right.
because you couldn't people weren't properly getting paid, and your music was being taken down, and there were copyright issues and all of these different things, sample clearances, yada yada yada.
Hmm.
Today it's a little different because of all
Yeah.
the social media creation
Yeah.
uh, tools and the consumption
Hmm.
of these type of social media trends. Like I keep giving Method Man props. Method Man has been on a tear,
Yeah.
spitting over all these classic hip hop instrumentals
Yeah.
and kind of creating like freestyle music video type things. I don't
Hmm.
really even know what to call them, but he's been on a tear. He couldn't have done that a couple years back. It would have been all taken down, and probably because he's Method Man, it's not being taken down.
Right.
But uh, I'm all for it. I don't have a problem
It
with it.
is. Me too.
I think it's all good.
Yeah.
Where are we going next?